So I'm going to combine two lectures. Actually, I'm probably going to do two separate lectures. The first one is using graphics and text, and the second one is creating PSAs. Both of them are going to help inform the next project that you're going to be doing. However, that being said, um, it is important for you to understand some of these examples. So I'm not going to show these videos. I'm going to let you go through here and watch them yourself, because I want to try to keep these as short as possible. So again, you can review some of these packages that I'm talking about. So this first one is going to be about using graphics and text. Um, so again, whoops. So I need to start at the beginning. So, so I would encourage you to look at this first package. This is reporter-oriented storytelling. It's a story about a chicken limo. And these reporters are kind enough to describe everything that is going on. So they are actually, and of course their interviews are describing what's going on, whereas we want to see the chicken limo actually in motion. So this is an example where a reporter is doing all the work, and we're not really getting a feel for what it's like and how other people would respond. So I encourage you to look at this. It's a live shot, by the way. And so here's some examples of how you can use post-production to help tell a story. So this is a interesting, so this is the original chicken limo. And you notice that there's an incredible amount of post-production going on. They're using music, they're using graphics, they're using interesting transitions to really heighten this silliness of this chicken limo. So I'm going to talk about these in detail, but there are some elements in post-production that you add. So post-production means that this is stuff that you do after the video is shot. So editing certainly is part of it, but these other things are going to supplement some of the audio and video that you've captured in your original package. So the first thing I want to talk about is music, and a lot of students will say that a package is boring if it doesn't have music in it. And if the package is boring without music, then the package is boring. The music doesn't make a package exciting. It basically supplements the boredom. So, so basically people will pay attention to the music and not pay attention to the fact that the story is boring. So ultimately, the story should be good, and you should not be hearing the music at all. So in some cases, the music will help heighten a specific element, a specific emotional reaction. If you notice in movie soundtracks, you might not be aware of the soundtrack, because in certain times it's very, very low. But in certain times we add it in there and it's heightened, it's high, and it's fast because it is adding to the overall storytelling process. By all means, if you use any music, don't use copyrighted music. It will flag you. YouTube will flag you if you use copyrighted music. It doesn't matter if you're not making money off of it. So lots of times you use free music, but you're supposed to technically credit it, and a lot of students don't, and then YouTube will flag it as a copyright violation. And I just want you to get out of that practice, because students will, what happens if you go to an internship and you use copyrighted music? Then it's your company that gets flagged with a copyright violation, because the company is making money. So anytime you don't have video to help tell the story, you can use graphics, and you can animate text, so text is next. But the style, the colors and everything should suit the overall tone. So if it's a real flashy sort of video, you might want to use electric colors, so neons, as you saw in the chicken limo. And but the more passive colors, the muted colors, would be a slower theme. And sometimes you use graphics to help open and close a project. So the students in my 408 class, some of them made a quick open and a close. We're talking like 3 or 4 seconds to introduce their package and then close it. So graphics are certainly helpful. But again, they aren't telling the story. Some graphics, some stories will use animation. That's different from this to tell a story. So sometimes narration and voiceover isn't clear, and so text can actually emphasize. So text can help emphasize some of the words. And lots of times social media posts, there's some that actually will use the voiceover, and maybe there is no voiceover, and they will put the text of the story almost as full screen. So Now This News, I know if you look at Now This News on Twitter, they will tell video stories using just text and captions. Okay, so montage editing, and sometimes this will help you in some sort of transition. And montage editing isn't like the traditional where you see montage showing progression of a person's personality. True montage editing is when you're juxtaposing two images. So if you're showing someone running really slowly, you might juxtapose that image with the image of a snail or a sloth, and then go back to the person running, and then go back to the person, the snail. Montage editing draws attention to the edit. It purposely disrupts the viewer. It draws attention. So it basically says, hey, wake up, we're doing something different. And again, sometimes it does indicate this progression of time. So if you want to kind of speed up someone doing something, then you would use montage to show that. So this is where this person was then, and then speed up to this is where this person is now. So a lot of students, because we can do it in Final Cut Pro and some of our digital video editing systems, we will show a passage of time using those dissolves, but it does slow down your project. Anytime you use a dissolve, it's not to cover up a jump cut, or it's not because you can, it's because you want to show that that was then, this is now. So only use dissolves if you want to show a passage of time. And if you notice, I mean, even films will do the same thing. So if take the cue from films, how often they use cuts versus how often they use a dissolve. So flashy wipes will, these are transitions, will jar the viewer. So you can bring in a graphic using a wipe. So this is a full screen graphic, and that might be effective because it's showing, hey, a graphic's coming in, and even just animation within the graphic. So if you're bringing in full text, that would be appropriate. Anytime you use effects and filters, it does convey a mood. I teach my students colorization and video editing, and ultimately it should convey some sort of like coldness. So that's so it's not like you're shooting video that's purposely blue. You're kind of muting some of the colors and leaning them towards the blue to convey this cold and deadness. If you can consider the opening scene of Avengers 2, The Age of Ultron, you notice that the video is very, very cold. aside from the Hulk being green and Scarlet, whatever her name, not Scarlet, Scarlett Johansson, whatever her character's name, her hair is red. So you see a little bit of that, but most of all, the video is cold. And then when things come back to life, you see more yellows and reds. So that's ultimately what you should think about when you talk about, don't worry about this digital campaigns. That's when we talk about ads, and we're not doing those this semester.